Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is said to have many different twists and turns as well as surprises in this film by writer and director J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio. This is Mike Zero. If you guys are new to the channel, do make sure to subscribe to see future Star Wars content. Now, one great thing about this film is that we do know that J.J. Abrams plans to really insert a lot of prequel trilogy and original trilogy content in order to fulfill the Skywalker saga and to even change how we view the past Star Wars films in a satisfying way. Now, these past couple of weeks or so, we've been learning a whole lot more about this film, and when it all comes down to one of the set leaks, this is where things begin to get very exciting for the characters of Rey and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now, specifically, it's described that one of the scenes that were shot during the month of December included Daisy Ridley inside of a cave that is described to be the entrance to the Lost City. It said that the sequence was shot over at Cardington, where Daisy was placed inside of a crystal cave that is said to be a place that is very strong with the Force. It's described that this is a scene in which Rey has an encounter with the Force ghost of Obi-Wan Kenobi. However, Obi-Wan is to come in the form of a Force ghost voice that guides Rey down to the Lost City. It said that one of the big plans is to get Ewan Mcgregor on board for the scene during post-production, to include lines of dialogue during the month of June. This sequence is described to be a moment in which the Kenobi dialogue from The Force Awakens fits into the story, where he says, "These are your first steps to Rey," and will also include a brief appearance of the Kenobi Force Ghost in the Lake of Dreams, which is described to be a shallow lake in the Lost City that is also very strong with the Force. So I want to go over a couple of parts about this, about of course, actor Ewan McGregor and the Force Ghost of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and exactly how J.J. Abrams is going to utilize all of the different connections here into Episode 9. Now, first things first, we do know that J.J. Abrams basically dropped all the breadcrumbs in The Force Awakens, right? We saw all the little hints and the teases that really raised a lot of questions that were not answered in The Last Jedi that are now going to be answered in a satisfying way in The Rise of Skywalker, which is great. To me, at least as a fan, one of the biggest questions in Episode 7 was, why do we always hear the Force Ghost voice of Obi-Wan reaching out to Rey during that Force back vision? What was the deal with that, right? So, one thing that we do know about JJ is that he's going to be answering that specific question in Episode 9, and we'll be answering that as to exactly where that all fits into the story, and that's exactly this specific scene. So, the scene in which we hear Obi-Wan Kenobi, from dialogue between both Ewan McGregor and Sir Alec Guinness being mixed together, they're actually going to be using that line of dialogue and continuing that dialogue in the form of this sequence where Rey is actually being guided by Obi-Wan Kenobi's voice into the Lost City. Now, in case you guys did not know, the Lost City is located underneath the surface of a desert world. Now, this could either be the desert world that we saw in the teaser, or a different desert world that we have not seen as of yet in the movie. Now, one thing about Obi-Wan Kenobi and, of course, actor Ewan McGregor is that when you look at Episode 9, this is their way of truly ending the Skywalker saga by giving us all of these different callbacks, all these different connections to, of course, the prequels and the originals that are going to be used in order to move the characters of Rey and Kylo Ren forward into the story. And Kenobi is going to be used as one of the light side characters that will move Rey ahead during her quest into discovering more Jedi lore and discovering more ancient relics and artifacts, you name it. We also know that Kylo Ren is going to be doing the same and will have a lot of artifacts, on hand during his quest to go to a specific world in this film. So, actor Ewan McGregor, what's really interesting is that they have this plan in place to bring him in during the month of June, which is next month already, I can't believe it. They're going to be bringing him in to do some dialogue during post-production in order to provide dialogue for the Force Ghost voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi guiding Daisy Ridley as Rey into the Lost City. Now, the cave, by the way, is described to be the Crystal Cave that we have heard about for, I would say, about 2 months now, give or take. The Crystal Cave is said to be very strong with the Force, kind of similar to what we saw on Dagobah, except that was with the dark side, with the cave itself, where now we're going to get the equivalent of that, except it's going to be based with the light side of the Force. So her going into the Lost City are going to be her first steps from what it seems, since the line of dialogue from Obi-Wan Kenobi that we heard in episode 7 will be used and continued and expanded in, of course, this particular scene. So what I like so much about Obi-Wan, guys, is that if you look at the character, he has been with us from, start to finish so far, right? We've seen him in the prequels, we've seen him in the originals, and now to top it all off, J.J. Abrams just has to explain a couple of more things about Obi-Wan Kenobi's role in the sequel trilogy, specifically in Episode 9, and exactly where he stands as a character. So you could really see they're doing the same exact thing with Palpatine here. He appeared in all three Star Wars trilogies, which is great. We're getting Palpatine in a totally different way that we have never seen before. Most likely, Palpatine, like we have heard, in the form of a spirit, somehow infiltrating or somehow possessing a certain character in this movie. So anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.